Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I'm Najahe Sherman, and welcome back to our special half-hour edition of CBS News Miami's 4 p.m. Quickcast. Today, we are going to bring you the very latest on Tropical Storm Idalia and what you need to know to be ready in the face of disaster as the storm makes its way towards Florida. In North Florida, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis issued an update on the tropical storm. He urged residents in impact-prone areas to stock up on supplies, secure their homes, and, of course, keep safety as their #1 priority. Take a listen.
Now, as of 10 a.m. this morning, the storm is located south of Cuba with winds 65 miles per hour. It will become a hurricane later today without question. Current forecast is to make landfall around Florida's Big Bend region. But I think, as we know, there's going to be things that happen in terms of interactions with jet stream and all this other stuff that could push the storm further eastward. So the further east it goes, the more impacts it's going to have on the overall Florida peninsula. So I would say everybody on the Florida Gulf Coast, just watch and be prepared and take the necessary action to protect you and your family, particularly as you get directives coming down from your local emergency managers.
Governor DeSantis also told the media that FPL, FEMA, and other resource providers are standing by for the storm. In St. Pete Beach, residents are bracing for the tropical storm. Right now, CBS News Miami's Larry Seward is speaking with residents, and he learned what they're doing to brace for the rough weather ahead.
We are in St. Pete Beach. Behind me, there is a waterway that leads out into the Gulf. Obviously, water could rise there. People that live along here, including Livingstone, have to watch this carefully. You just bought your house here, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So what are you doing this evening?
So right now, we're going to secure all the light things that we have. We have like a pizza oven, securing down the palm trees. And pretty much later today, once we hear the latest forecast, decide what we're going to do, if we're going to stay or if we're going to get out of here.
The hurricane could strengthen to Category 3 is what some forecasts say. But the fact that it is strengthening right now in the Gulf for you, what are you thinking and feeling?
Obviously, it's mixed feelings in a sense of, you want to enjoy the house. We're near the water, but we want to do what's best to be safe. We hope for, obviously we don't want to. I don't want it to go somewhere else and cause chaos for somebody else, but obviously I want this thing to to take its best path.
Well, Livingstone, you got plenty of water for his family, I'm told. That's correct. You got food? And
So we're all set up for a couple of days, and we'll see what happens.
Well, please be safe, my friend. This area is under the hurricane watch. It's an area about 300 miles from the Oconee River, just south of Tallahassee, all the way down to Longboat Key near Bradenton, Florida. So again, hurricane watch here. People like Livingstone getting ready. We'll have more for you coming up at 5:30. For now, in St. Pete Beach, Larry Seward, CBS News, Miami.
Larry, thank you. We move now to our next weather chief meteorologist and hurricane specialist Ivan Cabrera with our team coverage on the storm. Ivan, what are the latest developments?
Yeah, so we're taking a look at the hurricane hunters that are flying in here because we want to get a better handle on what's going on inside the storm and also what's going on around it. The storms don't steer themselves. They depend on mid to upper level winds. Sometimes those mid to upper level winds do interfere with the structure of the thunderstorms that try to organize around the center of circulation. That's what's happening right now, but we're expecting that to lessen. So let's take a look at it here. There is Idalia right now. There is the center. You see that icon there depicted as far as the center of circulation. But look at all the thunderstorm activity. It has, at least for the good chunk of the day, been displaced a little bit further to the south, but beginning to see some of the thunderstorms trying to organize around the center, and that is an indication of an intensifying system here. Also an indication that the winds are going to, let up as far as the wind shear. And that is the forecast. Otherwise, we would not have what we have here, which is a Category 1 hurricane by the time we get into tomorrow morning. 85-mile-an-hour winds and then 105-mile-an-hour winds peaking as a Category 3, all the while beginning to move north for the next couple of days and then hooking a little bit to the right there into the catcher's mitt, if you will, of the Florida Big Bend. A very susceptible, vulnerable area in Florida because of the bathymetry along the coast there. We have a shallow shelf there, and that allows for the water to really pile up. And so when you look at storm surge conditions and storm surge forecasts, they take that into account, not just the strength of the storm, which of course will be formidable as you see the pressure continuing to drop. Thereafter, it makes landfall. It will still be a big rain event, a tropical storm, and in fact an onshore flow here. That's what's going to set up, I think, places like Charleston to start, flooding here by the time we get into Wednesday and into Thursday as the system begins to then pull off towards the east. So we'll be talking about Idalia for quite some time. But as far as our impacts here, again, we'll be brushed with this system. We're going to have gusty winds and some squally rain band feeder bands that are going to be moving through as early as tomorrow. This is from the 2 p.m. advisory. Big update from the National Hurricane Center coming up at 5. They'll update the cone. They'll update the watches and warnings. And I'm expecting at least the lower keys to get upgraded into that tropical storm warning. It's a watch right now. Difference again, watch possible, warning likely. And it's just a matter of time. Interestingly enough, so this is the hurricane. Boy, we have thrown every plane available into Idalia. You need that because the models depend on good current information to forecast out. If you have bad data or missing data or not enough data, the forecast isn't as precise. And so that's what they've been doing. This particular aircraft right now doing a kind of a lawnmower pattern here. And the reason for that's the Gulf Stream. That's actually sampling mid to upper level conditions. They're not going to fly into the storm. Those are the other propeller planes. This is a jet, and it does that so we can sample where this storm is going to be heading into. Is it going to be heading into strong wind shear? Is it going to be heading into a steering current that will take it, maybe further left or further right? And again, all that gets fed into the model. So that's what's going on there. And then, of course, the hurricane hunters fly in the actual storm itself to give us the current conditions, and that's when we upgrade these storms. Once we get enough flight level wind data and they drop the probes, the drop zones we call them, then we'll get a better handle on whether we have a complete circulation here of 74 mile-an-hour winds that would make it a hurricane. So this is what's been happening so far. We've got a little wind shear here from the north that has been coming in, and that has been impacting with Idalia, and it has allowed it to at least plateau for now as far as the wind strength, the pressure, and the winds have not changed so much over the last 24 hours. And the reason for that, again, is because we continue to see a little bit of wind shear. I'm expecting that, though, to go away for the next day or so, as we've been talking about. That's the setup there between Tuesday, tomorrow afternoon, and into Wednesday. That is going to be the window for this to really ramp up. All right, so for our local effects here, we'll continue to see this moving a little further to the east. Watch what happens here. Before I get to the storm surge, I'll try to go through here because we continue to see wind gusts already by the time we get into tonight. And then look at Key West here, anywhere from 29. These are not, terrible wind gusts, and they're certainly not severe, but we are going to continue to see that as we head through tonight and into tomorrow. And then we start getting into tropical storm force wind gusts. In fact, you can see there 38 and Key West. There's obviously the center of circulation with Idalia as it continues headed up to the north. As far as the storm surge potential, we don't have to worry about that too much. I think we're going to have some minor saltwater flooding as it makes its closest pass to places like the lower Keys, and that would be 1 to 2 feet above the ground. And so we typically see that when we get the king tide, sometimes you're going to have that in the lower Keys. Then you get into more significant surge, and that's when things start getting dangerous here. 4, 7, 6 to 9 feet, and then up towards the nature coast there. They're going to be looking at the potential for anywhere from 7 to 11 feet above sea level. That is going to be quite something. As far as the rainfall, some gusty bands are going to be moving through. I don't expect this, it's interesting. You get this hurricane that's going to be moving to our west. It's not going to be raining all day tomorrow. We'll have sun. We're going to have these bands that are going to roll through, put down, quick, burst of showers, even some thunderstorms, some perhaps strong to even marginally severe wind gusts, and then they'll be gone, and then we'll get another band that comes through. But I think the timing between those are not going to be so short. So we're going to have, a good couple of hours in between those bands to kind of recover and not allow for a big flood threat here across South Florida. So that's what we're doing now. It's coming up on 4:16. The National Hurricane Center typically puts out the 5 p.m. advisory about 15 minutes before the top of the hour, so we should be able to bring that to you rather shortly, and certainly beginning on our 5 p.m. newscast, and we'll see if we do in fact have Hurricane Idalia on our hands. All right, let's check in for more local impacts here, which again are not going to be completely benign. We are going to have some issues, and here is Cindy Pressler with that.
Yeah, we're going to have a few here across the southeastern side of Florida. This is basically a Gulf Coast high impact area, but here in the Miami-Dade and Broward County areas, even down into Monroe County, the upper Keys are not going to see a lot of impact here. Really, Key West would be the spot that would see the gustiest winds and maybe some of those heavier rain bands. But if you break it down, tonight we're going to watch Idalia continue to make its way toward the Gulf of Mexico. Once it clears western Cuba, then it'll be out there in that very warm water, and like Ivan said, the wind shear likely to die down, so that's really going to be its opportunity to really get some strength out there. And by Tuesday, likely to be a hurricane at that point. Category 1, how quickly is this thing going to strengthen? Well, it's got a lot of help out there because of that hot water and so forth. So we're going to watch that continue to track to the north. It looks like the track is pretty set, but it's the intensity. These models have a tough time forecasting intensity. So there are a lot of ingredients that could go with it or be in favor of it, or maybe not so much in favor of it, but it's something we'll be watching going through Tuesday. We will see some bands, some gusty, squally bands come through that could drop some heavy rain. That'll continue into Wednesday. Really, our winds could gust up to 45 miles per hour both Tuesday and into Wednesday before this thing starts to die off going into Thursday. So what's next? We're going to watch the track. Make sure you're up to date all the time because we have those little changes that come in. We could see some big changes, but overall, it's the little changes that could make the difference. Rainfall threat, heavy rainfall threat, we are included in that with those gusty bands. And again, if you get under one of those that could drop 1 to 2 inches, that's where you could get some minor flooding. We're not really expecting a severe threat here. It's a marginal threat across our areas, but you could always see a small spin-up tornado. There's a natural rotation already with the system that's out in the Gulf, so you got a little bit of an ingredient there, so we're going to watch for that, although our tornado threat is going to be quite low. Wind threat also low here, but the gusts could be up to 40-45 miles per hour. Flooding, about a medium chance, and storm surge, we're not looking at that to be a problem here across southeastern Florida, although small craft advisory, so if you've got plans on the boat, maybe not the best couple of days to do that. We're going to run that from 6 a.m. Tuesday until 6 a.m. Thursday. Wind gusts 35, maybe 40 miles per hour. Seas could be 5 to 8 feet, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, if you're going to be comparing two cities on the west, on the Gulf Coast, you've got Tampa, Florida, and Fort Myers, of course. Ian affected Fort Myers in a great way last year. They are not going to see a huge impact, except they could get storm surge of 2 to 4 feet. There could be some tropical storm force winds. Again, hurricane force gusts then as you get into Tuesday night. By Wednesday, it starts to move out of here. Tampa likely to see the higher impacts here with tropical storm force conditions on Tuesday night. Storm surge 3 to 5 feet. Both of these areas are something to watch, but here across our side of the state, impacts are going to be quite minimal. Gusty, squally winds, maybe some heavy rain with these squalls, and that's going to be about it. So we're looking pretty good here on the southeastern side. Naja?
All right, Cindy, thank you for the latest. And before we go, we wanted to bring you an update on another breaking story that we have been following all day. Right now, 2 people are dead. 4 people are recovering after a Broward Sheriff's Office helicopter crashed into a Pompano Beach apartment complex. Investigators say 1 person was killed. It was a member on board the helicopter. The other victim was a woman inside her home. It is still unclear what caused the helicopter to come crashing down. We will bring you the latest on this story both on air and online as we learn more. And coming up in just a half hour, we're going to have more on Idalia. We're going to have the latest forecast as the storm continues to make its way towards Florida. Thank you for joining us and stay safe.